A lawyer and Nussbaum a writer of children's books. They were upper middle-class people. After intense negotiations, Steinberg agreed to talk to Inside Edition. He is a man on the edge. A jury believed he inflicted savage wounds on Lisa the last night of her life. But Steinberg denies even being with Lisa when she was hurt.
Well, the simple fact is that you say you don't know how she got hurt.
No, I know. In fact, I had assumed that they'd eaten too much because when I called at about 8:30, 9 o'clock from the restaurant, she said that she had fed Lisa again and that Lisa's stomach was upset. So I assumed, as I guess she did, that she had stomach upset. Also, when I washed her, she was, didn't want to be washed. And she's only sleeping in your bed, so I carried her into my bed.
So Lisa was conscious at this point?
She was drowsy. I thereafter went into the bathroom where Lisa was, as Hedda described, on the floor. And I washed Lisa. No, I don't do groins. And then Hedda washed Lisa's clothes in the sink, which the police recovered. I asked Hedda at that point whether she thought Lisa could go to school the next day.
According to court testimony, it was 12 hours before paramedics were called to attend to the battered 6-year-old. A medical expert testified that Lisa was beaten to death. Nussbaum pointed the finger at Steinberg, saying he hit Lisa repeatedly. Steinberg did not testify at his trial, but he does so now, saying that he was out of the apartment when Lisa's final injuries took place.
I have no idea what transpired that night. The scenario that the investigators created is she climbed up on the sink to get to the medicine cabinet, to get to Hedda's makeup. And she probably fell, scraped her back against the wall, and hit the wicker basket in the bathroom. Hedda said to the police at the time she was arrested, okay, to Detective Rivera, that everything that transpired in the house was her fault or her responsibility.
Are you guilty here of anything?
Yes. Yes.
What?
I troubled myself to wonder that if I could have only gotten her to the hospital sooner, maybe, maybe you could do something. And that bothers me. I went home from the hospital, and Hedda and I thought that Lisa would probably have a recuperation period, but as Dr. Kaleni said, she might have some neurological damage, but that'll be okay in a while.
But that's all that you feel you're guilty of? Just not getting to the hospital soon enough?
Well, tell me what you suggest.
I don't suggest anything. But you sincerely feel that you're not guilty of anything else?
I don't understand your question. What, there's no battery.
The jury disagreed.
You find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Steinberg faces up to 25 years in prison. Steinberg says he will appeal. He believes the press has convicted him.
They exaggerate, they distort, and they don't give fair understanding and fair representation to people. And it's hard.
Why did the press do it?
It sells a lot of newspapers, and it was also fed to them by a fairly large focal group, which you're aware of. I mean, once you start on something, you sell a line.
You feel victimized by this whole thing.
Oh, yeah, sure. And that's where I'm angry, and that's where I place my blame.
In the best terms that you can put it, because I know you've thought about it, how do you feel about Lisa?
Well, that's too complicated a question. Both children in my life. I can't tolerate the losses. I mean, you see, it just, things don't happen. There's no reason for it. I miss her. I miss the whole family. I miss the life that we had.
When we come back,
Will shatter.
I didn't want to go into
but see, you won't tell me how she got battered, so it's hard.
I'm saying I didn't want to go into it during the trial.
I've seen...
She had some difficulties, and she did all she could to try to get help, and she seriously tried.
But you won't confirm it for me. I've seen the documentation, and I've seen that she was a troubled woman, and I've seen references in her own handwriting to people who were involved with satanic cults and sadomasochism, and I've seen all that, but you will not confirm that for
I
me.
don't know that the satanic cults had any interest.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. Kinky, cults, S&M,
No,
you
when
know that.
she...
I've seen it in her own hand, but you don't confirm for me.
I don't think that she ascribed to these areas or took a liking for them. I think she was victimized by the circumstances.
And that's how she became battered, victimized by other people, not you.
Well, when I meant by victimized...
Well, she was beaten by
Well,
someone.
she indicates that, but I don't... Please, I mean, you really, you know, you...
No, I'm just trying to get your story.
No, look.
Nussbaum told a therapist in 1984 that she was involved with a sex cult that practiced sadomasochism. Later, Nussbaum testified that Steinberg told her to make that story up. Steinberg denies that and says Nussbaum was a member of a cult. Nussbaum is now suing Steinberg for $3 million for the physical abuse she says he inflicted upon her.
You did it. She said you were a terrible man.
No, she didn't.
She said you beat her.
Did she? And what did she say? No, I can't touch the issue.
He got violent with me, and he threw me to the floor. My nose was broken, obviously broken, and my ear became a cauliflower ear.
How do you feel about Hedda Nussbaum?
On what level?
Emotionally.
Emotionally, I love her. I'm not pleased that she doesn't assert her own independence and allows herself to be exploited.
Are you disappointed that Hedda testified against you?
I understood the sequence of what had to happen. She testified that she didn't want to testify, and then I understood what the defense, what Hedda's defense required to exonerate her.
So you do feel that she has no
No, I
responsibility?
don't feel that. I don't know. We never disciplined the children. We never used it.
Never hit them?
Never. I never did.
Never once?
Not once.
And never saw Hedda hit the children?
I never saw how to hit the children once. I never did.
You hesitated there.
You asked me whether I saw it. There was one discussion once about it.
The question as to which parent actually physically battered Lisa was what this case came down to. The jury made their decision.
A woman with 16 incompletely healed broken ribs, osteoporosis, anemia, a leg that's gangrene or just about there, we felt could not have picked up and flung Lisa or delivered a blow of that force, was just physically incapable of it. There was beyond a reasonable doubt that she could not have done it. That only left Joel.
How did Hedda get all the bruises on her body?
I thought you weren't going to touch that area. And I don't want to go into that cult crap.
Despite the charges of family violence and the claim of sex cults, Steinberg insists that he and Hedda Nussbaum were good parents. He says Lisa was a normal, happy child.
I mean, if this child was subjected to tension or insecurity or lack of nurturing, or she wouldn't be extremely well nourished, end quote, for the medical report. If you know, these things don't just happen. You have to attend to it. You have to constantly be there. If there was stress between Hedda and I, it would be reflected in the child's behavior. She would not be consistently, every day, to every teacher, to every person.
So you think you were the best father that Lisa could have?
Oh, yes. And so did everybody else that you spoke to. And so did everybody else in the area, and so did the teachers, and so did all the people in the building, and so did everybody that was interviewed by them. There was 252 people interviewed, and every one of them said I was a model father.
How did it all get so distorted? That you're the worst monster around and that Hedda Nussbaum was terrible. How did this happen?
Well, I don't think the prosecutor should have brought her as a star witness and then say she's a terrible mother and a terrible person or whatever. I thought that was inappropriate, particularly since he knew from 800 pages of psychiatric reports, from diaries, from all of her therapies and all of her life, she was a very decent person, trying very hard to overcome some difficulties.
Steinberg believes that he will win his case on appeal, that he will be a free man again. He maintains that he was a good father. He says he is a victim.
I enjoyed Lisa and Mitch a great deal. I had to testify. She said I was a superb parent, an excellent parent. Every time that I played with the children, which was all the time, it was joyous. They were my life.
The Steinbergs had another illegally adopted child, a baby named Mitchell. Police say they found him tied to a chair when they entered the Steinberg apartment. Mitchell is now back with his real mother. And here with us now is Lisa's natural mother, Michelle Launders. Thanks for coming in, Michelle. I know it must be very difficult for you. You were at the trial every day. You saw Joel Steinberg, but you never heard from him because he never testified at the trial. Now, for the first time, you've heard his words. How do you feel?
I don't think he's actually telling the truth with this interview. He says he was a good father to both children. However, from the age of 2, Lisa slept on a couch while he had a bed. Lisa did not have the toys that a 6-year-old had while he had things outside of the apartment, golf clubs or his boat.
Are you convinced that Joel Steinberg physically abused Lisa?
Absolutely.
You're convinced?
Mm-hmm.
And how does it make you feel when you see him say he was a good father and he didn't do anything?
Well, he's living in his own fantasy land as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he could decipher the real world from his own fantasy.
How do you feel about him, Joel Steinberg?
I hate the man. I despise him. He says that Lisa was the love of his life, and yet he took the life out of Lisa.
You're convinced of that?
Absolutely.
You don't think she fell down in the bathroom, as he said?
No.
Was it painful for you to watch that interview?
Very much so.
What was going through your mind when you saw it?
That how he just construes things to fit his own ideas of what happened, to try to, again, make up a story that actually did not happen, as he did when the story first broke with all the things that he said in the hospital.
You gave Joel Steinberg Lisa because he was a lawyer, and you
I did not give Lisa to Joel Steinberg.
What happened?
He was supposed to be arranging the adoption with another couple.
Okay, that's what I meant. But you felt that he was a lawyer and that he would provide a good home for Lisa.
As what I was told by him, by my doctor, by the nurse in the doctor's office, and by the receptionist in the doctor's office. They all knew each other. So every day they kept telling me, don't worry about a thing. Everything will be all right. For 3 months, they told me this every day. And so when you're dealing with professionals, you expect them to be professional. And unfortunately, they were not.
When you first met Steinberg, did you feel that he was different in any way? Did you get any sense of him?
Just he was a bit overbearing, intimidating, but nothing with the bizarreness that he turned out to be, no.
Do you have any personal regrets about all this? Anything you felt you could have done differently?
I would have done the whole thing differently. There's a lot of regrets.
Never would have given the baby up?
No way.
Michelle, thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. We'll be back.